Livestreamers, thank you for joining us. We were a little later because we were enjoying some charcuterie. I keep wanting to say charcuterie because I only read the word for years before I heard it said. And so, yeah, Now, that's something that, as a hearing impaired person, it took me a long time to learn the difference between CH and SH. Cheap and sheep, I couldn't really discern. It was sheep and cheap. It didn't make any sense to me. And so then when some people are trying to play cruel tricks on the deaf guy by telling them that he's just like, hey, I'm just gonna anyways. But yes, learning the SH and S and CH are not as consistent as I was told. Then it's even more complicated. So, what was the one that you had to correct me on a lot, but I finally ended up getting it? It was a CH and it was an SH sound, and I finally did it right. And you were like, "Honey, good job!" And I was like,
"Oh, the name Charlotte."
Yeah, Charlotte, right? Charlotte's Web. That may have even been it. I don't know. But like Cheryl, I have no problem with.
You have said Charlotte.
Charlotte
really? You don't have a problem with me?
No, I don't have a problem with you. Yeah. Here's another interesting tidbit. Growing up in Zambia, they have Zambian names like Innocent, Nature, some Bible name, Paul, Clement, but there's no Sean's. And so growing, and again, I just spent the first 7-8 years of my life in America, but somehow was not exposed to any Sean's, at least none that were not spelled SHAWN. Mm-hmm. So I'm reading books. I read so much as a kid, and seen is the word SEAN.
Yeah, right.
And no kidding, that's amazing.
How do you get Sean out of SEAN?
It's
not
right.
It's not American though either. That's one of those ones where you just take their word for the way.
Like,
yeah, you have to.
Like Sinead, and Siobhan.
Siobhan, okay. I'm learning a lot. Speaking of names that I've had to learn for the first time, I love your family, Cheryl. They were in town. Oh my goodness. Who's the one we were talking to outside?
I'm gonna be real honest.
Oh, Tracy.
I don't think I heard her name.
I just love Tracy.
She could very well be. Yes. Yeah. Right? She could be the sweetest, most wonderful young lady I've met, ever. I'm so happy to have met her. And I gave her all kinds of recommendations for Boston, food recommendations. What else? What kind of other recommendations are there? And so we had an absolute blast. And it's just so nice to meet kindred spirits of all kinds. Yeah. When they come and visit, and you're like, you could be from New York or a different country or a different continent.
Or a different team.
What's that?
Or a different team.
We're different. Yankee, not as much. I said kindred spirits. No.
Well, they love this church, and they just thought they both Tracy and Lisa and Gerald all go, and they all go to a much more, I guess, traditional Baptist church. Okay. And I know the church that they all grew up in, the same one that they grew up with Arnold's dad and his stepmother. Mm. And so they all went to the same Morning Star Baptist, and it was very traditional. And they come here, and I know they're just sitting there for about the first 15 minutes, kind of looking around, thinking, what kind of church is this? Awesome. And Janai was telling me later on, because we had them all over for Father's Day, for cookout later on that day. And she's like, I want to go to that church. They throw candy out.
I love it.
She said, I would study my Bible so hard every week that I get candy.
There it is. So, Gamify.
Yep.
I'm actually going to be addressing the nature of our church or churches like our church. I actually think that despite the fact that it's the book I've most recently started, it's the one I'll finish first. I started How to Be an Absolutely Insufferable Christian. That's a fun one. That's one that I kind of enter into a C.S. Lewis alter ego to write, and it's very fun. But the juices don't always flow for that. You got to be in a particularly mischievous creative mood. The other one's called Nehushtan, and it's based on the serpent that they ended up worshiping. So the subtitle is When Good Things Go Bad. But the one I'm working on now, it's called Good World, Good Way. And it's about living in God's good world and God's good way. And I think that if we have that as our undercurrent, it addresses, infiltrates, fills all the cracks of any of our maybe differences or any of our different styles or traditions and things like that, if we all just commit to living in God's good world and God's good way, everything else, it's okay. Like I mean that. Like I'm figuring this out, right? And I know you all have, I'm sure, before even I did, I'm sure. But I'm learning this, and what some would say, well, that's ecumenicalism. I don't care what you call it, but when I grew up, ecumenical was a bad word, very bad word.
Yes.
You do not be ecumenical. Ecumenical is bad. And they painted it with this brush. So that means you stand next to a Muslim and you hold their hand, stand next to a Satanist and hold their hand, and basically say we have no differences. That's not ecumenicalism. That's compromise, right? Ecumenicalism is when you say one team, one goal. It's actually like we join with Paul when he says one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all. That's it. And that's why I can, on Sunday night, I listen to a sermon by the Bishop Robert Barron of the Roman Catholic tradition. Sunday morning, I listen to a podcast with Tom Wright of an Anglican tradition. I'm not Roman Catholic. I'm not Anglican. I don't agree with a ton of their stuff. Otherwise, I'd be one. I think some of the things that Roman Catholics do is really cool, and I would love to wear one of those little collars when I go to hospitals. So there would be perks, but I can't buy whatever, you know. Right? But
Wear your bottom.
what's that?
Wear your bottom when you go visit people in the hospital.
You know, I think I just might, and they would be too weirded out to say anything anyways. They'd be like, "Can I say something to him about this?" And I'd be like, "Excuse me, excuse me," right? Actually, what's interesting is, as a member of the clergy, as an ordained member of clergy, I can buy a clerical collar. It's just the Baptist tradition doesn't wear them, but we can. But I know, I'm thinking, hey, if I almost did during COVID to get in to see people during COVID, to walk in with a clerical collar. It would
Do you have a little cross pin?
No, I should though.
Yeah.
I should.
Just do like more bit, walk the walk, you can put your suit coat on backwards.
Exactly right. Yep. All right, we're in James 2.
Don't forget that.
We are going to cover the entirety of James chapter 2 in 2 weeks. It is not because I want to rush through. We took way longer than that in James 1. I didn't. I did the same thing I did last week. Sigh. So now what's great is we're in James 2, 1 through 13. The pastor's paraphrase says James 1, 22 through 25. And the KJV says James 1, 26 through 27. So we're everywhere this evening. But in reality, we are in James 2, 1 through 13. I forgot to change the headers once again. My goodness.
It's that confusing.
Right?
Well, I'm sorry,
We'll
we'll have to go home now.
I know. I ruined it all. So,
forgive him.
thanks. I just want to take a moment to mention, I think Toby and Steph are probably working. They've been working a lot, summertime and all. They were going to be here Sunday morning, at least for the Sunday school half hour there. But they stayed up so late cleaning out their truck because they had a really, really busy day the previous day. And so
We had a dog show at the Cumberland Fairgrounds today.
did that today, the dog show. How about
For
that?
dogs.
One of these Wednesdays, we're just going to follow them around and bring church to them.
Yeah.
So,
There you
that'd be
go.
fun. I think we should do it. Actually, yeah, let's totally do it.
Yeah.
And if we have to scooch it to a Tuesday to be right here in Lisbon, then we should scooch it to a
Oh,
Tuesday.
that's where we went last night.
Is it? No kidding. Okay, very cool. All right, I think we're going to do that. We'll figure it out. Kevin and the whole family, except Micah. I think Micah doesn't have a fever, but everybody else, Josh, Jay, have a fever.
It's not COVID,
That's what I thought when I came in. I thought, boy, these days when you think fever, it's hard not to think, the core.
But COVID is got kind
COVID's
of washed
passé.
down, I thought.
COVID is passé.
It's still, once the flu came back,
Okay.
people are still getting sick.
Yep.
Before it was just COVID.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
except in the lab.
But you'll notice that it won't be too long before they come up with something new to terrify us and keep us
Yes.
under control. No, but I'm actually all precaution. I really
They're
am.
working on
This time of year, it's a tick.
I think.
I tell you what, though, ticks indeed. A number of folks have gotten bit by a tick, and they've, said, "Whoa, we got to keep an eye on this thing." And I do recommend keeping an eye on the tick. Thankfully, Lyme disease isn't as sensitive as it used to be, so we're thankful for that. But
We got Lyme and babesiosis and something.
Yeah,
When we were kids, we went all over the field. We were outside
Yep.
all day.
Yep.
We got ticks on us.
I have often wondered if just our diet today is a lot different than our diet, was 50, 60 years ago as a people. Who was the other person?
They
you
don't like
mentioned?
dark skin, so I know that my kids
Yes.
have been someplace, or my family sits someplace, Arnold and Tolliver. They don't pick up anything but my sister and her family.
All right. So I'm going to turn on airplane mode because I can't have that happen again. Look at the text on church. Hold on.
Got a little technology.
It says good evening from Scott and Laura, and this thing is all mixed up because somebody tried to call me, so I got to figure this out here.
Then he makes this weird face. People are probably thinking, what the heck?
Yeah. It must be very